before we start, I'd like to tell everybody, if for some reason you cannot copy down the information fast enough, to please just hold your hand up and let us know, because we feel like the words that we have chosen to speak today are just as important as the ones we've chosen to write. And so please let us know if for some reason we need to slow down just a little bit. All right, so we are group 6, and this is leveraging the power of nonverbal communication. I'm Clark, this is Jessica, and Boo. Information in today's world is essentially infinite. From all the blogs that we have online, from all the advertising and face-to-face contact, you can almost get anybody to tell you anything, it seems like. So if you wanted somebody to tell you that you could win the lottery, I'm sure there's somebody out there telling you that you will defy the odds and that you will win the lottery. And if you want somebody to tell you that you can't win the lottery, they will show you some statistical analysis that says that you can't. So we have developed a set of receptors to try and find out if we feel like information is genuinely worth taking to heart, or if it's something that we should just generally throw away as more junk. And that is all part of this nonverbal communication. So whenever I first heard that communication was 93% nonverbal, I kind of thought that that seems crazy, like how can that be? But after looking it up, it's actually 7% is the information you're giving them, 38% is the way you say that information, and that's like if you seem genuinely like believing the information that you're giving people, and then 55% of that is the body language that you present, and whether that also conveys that that information is genuine. So we're going to try and break down some of this nonverbal communication in a way that it's a little easier to understand, and hopefully you can understand why it's such a large portion. Jessica is going to cover the third eye concept of visual thinking and physical expressions. Boo is going to cover gestures by dynamic speakers and facial expressions. And then I'm going to come back to you to talk about vocal dynamics and their 4 important tools.
So there's 2 types of presentation styles that can increase your confidence up. The first one is physical command, which contains third eye. And third eye means commanding the space around you and moving with power and grace. The next presentation style is visual awareness, which contains physical expression, like hostile versus positive message, maintaining eye contact, which is the age-old rule that we all learned in other BCom classes in professional development, and having a conversation with the audience, which allow the audience or the listener to be comfortable to ask questions at the end of the presentation. Third eye. There's 3 steps to command your space. The first step is keep in mind of your audience. Like the first group that presented in the beginning of the semester, your audience, you need to know if your audience are primary, secondary, what are they familiar, and what is their background. Second step is ask yourself, how do you move through space? Are you just standing still like this, like a statue? Are you just walking around, open, accepting the audience, embracing? And third, remember, physical ease and confidence is key to any presentation. Physical expressions. We have hostile and positive message. For hostile, nodding repeatedly means that you're impatient. So, as we know, some of our teachers in our classrooms, we just want them to be quiet. So we just nod our heads, saying, yeah, we get it, go on, like, get to your point. Second one is a defensive posture, which means you're uncomfortable or discomfortable with the topic. So again, a teacher example, when a teacher is asking you a question, like, I don't know, politics, and you're not really good at politics, so normally you'll lean back in our chair, try to hide, like be a little turtle, so we won't be asked on that question because we don't want to answer. Third is using the large and abrupt movements. So as an audience, you think this is annoying and you like lose your interest. And you also lose confidence in the speaker because you don't believe they're able to control their movements. For positive message, smiling excessively means eagerness. For square shoulders and a straight back means confidence, that you're confident in what you're doing, you're confident being in front of the audience and present. And lastly, is keep your arms relaxed and open, which means you're just comfortable. Now I'll pass along to Boo.
I'll I'll be talking about a few characteristics of gestures and facial expressions for dynamic speakers. So as you can see on the screen, a few essential components of gestures that show who you are as a communicator are well-defined, strong, non-repetitive, and individualized. So what that means is that you should be confident and express your gestures freely. As an example, you can lean toward the audience during key moments of your presentation to convey a strong message or to persuade them. However, after using that certain gesture for a number of times throughout your presentation, you might want to switch it up a little, because by repeating the same gesture over and over again, your audience might lose interest or your message might lose its meaning. And a few ways that can help you gain that confidence are by recognizing the importance of gestures. So by using your arm from the shoulder all the way down and widening your gesture, the audience will feel included, even the ones that are all the way to the end of the room or the auditorium. And the next way would be to express the fullness of your commitment to the ideas and emotions inherent to your speech. Lastly, remind yourself to use specific gestures to transform that commitment into an effective speech performance. As for facial expressions, it reflects what you're thinking and feeling, and it's actually more revealing than gestures. So let us take a minute to look at this picture to your right. During a business professional meeting, you would want to use a neutral facial expression to deliver your proposal. However, when you're delivering good news to your audience, you would want to show happiness. But in most cases, you would not want to show surprise, fear, disgust, anger, or sadness. And in this class, we've watched a few videos, and if you can remember, about 2 weeks ago, we watched 2 videos of Kathy McAfee, and one of the videos can relate back to our topic today. It was about what to do with your hands during your presentation. So the first tip is to make sure to shape your space. So that means being confident and use the third eye concept by commanding the space around you, like Jessica was saying. And also do not lock your hands in front of your body the entire time while you're presenting, because the audience can interpret it as you're closed off and you're not interested in connecting with them. Just make sure to use your body as an instrument of communication. So what that means is that don't just stand here still like this. Whenever you're excited, you can bend your legs and show some animation in your body, or you can shrug your shoulders to show amazement or shake your head to show frustration. And as I mentioned earlier, you can also lean toward the audience during key moments to persuade them. And lastly, the face is the first place where awe is revealed. So make sure to relax your expression. You want the audience to see you as knowledgeable and credible, but also approachable. Now I'll be passing it on to Clark to talk to you about vocal dynamics and its 4 important tools.
All right, before we have a breakdown of vocal dynamics, I'd like to try and read a passage for you, and I'm going to do the best I can to remove all vocal dynamics from it. How comfortable a speaker is in his own skin, how he stands and moves, how he looks at others in the room, his tone of voice, even the clothes he wears, together these variables constitute a flow of data running underneath whatever the speaker is saying. So that's really hard to listen to, and as a matter of fact, it's even harder probably to read it that way, because it just doesn't have any kind of emotion involved in it. So vocal dynamics is going to really give that to your listener. So in order to keep your audience listening to you, your speaking voice needs to be lively, dynamic, and empathetic. And I think to myself, how exactly do you make yourself sound lively, dynamic, and empathetic? You know, it's not really easily done on something that you don't really believe in. So I think that if you're going to present something, you should try and put a piece of yourself in it. Perhaps take a couple key points that you really believe in and make sure you accentuate those. You will lose your audience to you will lose your listener if anything in your voice seems threatening, boring, or phony. So for threatening, if somebody says, if you don't study, you're going to get a bad grade. You know, a lot of times that really just kind of blows off. If you're thinking to yourself, why do you need to threaten me in order to get this information across? Obviously, this information cannot be that great. For boring and phony, I think of an infomercial. I can just picture the sham wow guy up here trying to sell you about how this rag is going to magically transform your life. For hostile, I think to myself, that sounds a lot like threatening, but I think the big difference is that hostile is more of a defensive position. And once again, we think to ourselves, why do you need to defend so adamantly if your information is really good information? So the four important tools of vocal delivery are emphasis, pitch, variety, pacing, and rhythm. For emphasis, you need to say some words maybe with a little bit of strain in your voice and maybe a little bit louder to try and make sure that they pick up as that is a specific item that they need to pay attention to. For pitch variety, a change in the tone of your voice can show a transition period from one thing to another and help people along. For pacing, you need to keep a constant flow of information coming to people because otherwise they're going to get bored if you're trying to make a point that's already been made over and over and over again. For rhythm, you need to speed up and slow down sometimes to try and help differentiate information. So I would like to try and read this again and see if I can do it with some of these vocal dynamics and improve upon it. How comfortable a speaker is in his own skin, how he stands and moves, how he looks at others in the room, and his tone of voice, even the clothes he wears. Together, these variables constitute a constant flow of data running underneath whatever the speaker is saying. So now maybe you can understand why 93% of communication is nonverbal and 7% is. Next time you give a speech, keep in mind the third eye concept, the physical gestures, and the vocal dynamics, and you'll have a better speech. Now for the quiz.
Would one of you please read the quiz questions out loud?
What percentage of communication is verbal? What is the definition of third eye? Give an example of each, a hostile and a positive message. If anything in your voice seems blank, then you will lose your audience. Lean